Hi, everyone. So within all the lactate talk and everything, like you heard me talk about anxiety versus depression, a lot of those conversations have to do with acute stress versus chronic stress, right? Acute stress is a very important part of the equation. And this is what really we're focusing on in this lactate, noradrenaline, osteocalcin, and for today, glutamate system. This is the part of a lot of it is, so for example, noradrenaline, lactate, and osteocalcin is a triumvirate of the sympathetic nervous system. What does that all mean, though? And how does it relate to acute stress? So that's what we're going to talk about, because this is the physiological aspect of acute stress, therefore the physiological aspect of anxiety. Anxiety being a driver toward excitatory, right? So what does that all mean? And so in this course, we talked about lactate, all that stuff. So today, it's going to be glutamate, the glutamate system. So first of all, what is glutamate? Glutamate is a monoamino acid. I'm confusing with mono neurotransmitter. A non-essential amino acid. That means that we produce it. It is found in food, but we also produce it, right? And it's a neurotransmitter. It's called what is an excitatory neurotransmitter. So this is a very important thing. And for example, on the other side of that, because things exist like one pulls the brake on the other side of the excitatory, you have what is called GABA. I'm sure you heard about it, right? It's in that sense, the opposite side of the arch of what glutamate is. So as a excitatory neurotransmitter, it plays a huge part in whatever relates to acute stress. So first, we have to define what acute stress is. Acute stress is stress just means a demand for an expenditure of energy. We have a tendency to put a negative connotation to stress, but you can't do that. In what matters to us here, to understand how all this works, you have to understand that stress is just a function. Stress as a function, and the function of stress is to demand an expenditure of energy. So acute stress in that sense is just an acute, so which means violent, rapid, whatever you want. Usually it's based on, the time it takes you to react, right? Demand of energy expenditure. So obviously that's going to relate, for example, to the sympathetic nervous system. Acute stress roughly means what? The bear is coming, right? But the bear is coming right now, not, over time, not continuously. It's a very quick thing. And that quick thing, right, you see that in behavior as very specific. As usual, it's prediction versus observation. So there's many, many layers to this. What we're going to focus on today is the physiological aspect to that respond to acute stress. And I do not want to phrase this as a deterministic way A causes B, but because everything is a feedback loop. But one of the very important part of it is the glutamate system. So it is a cornerstone of the whole system. So it's called excitatory, right? In the sense of it's going to provoke that heightened response. And so how do we do this? So, it's so big. So whenever we have an acute stress, we see a raise in the glutamate level on specific places. So where do we see it? We see it, for example, in the hypothalamus, right? We see all the glutamate raising in the hypothalamus. Why does it matter, the hypothalamus? Because those are where the orexin neurons reside. And that matters a lot, because as you see in the course, I did an entire part on the orexin neurons and their effect on the locus coeruleus, which is the main producer of noradrenaline, and that is the neurotransmitter for the sympathetic nervous system, the main neurotransmitter. And that's where most of the noradrenaline is produced in the locus coeruleus. So in the hypothalamus, where you have those orexin neurons, right, they're one step before. So if you access those orexin neurons, you end up in the locus coeruleus. That is also a seat of behavior. and it's going to produce a noradrenaline, the neurotransmitter for the sympathetic nervous system. Once you get there and start to produce this, you will see that lactate goes up. Right, that's going to come in handy. Right, so hypothalamus, and then we go this way. So that's one very important. What is also a major aspect here is that hypothalamus is the seat of wakefulness and feeding for many reasons. The circadian rhythm is controlled through the RAF nuclei, right? So, but in that case, we're going to see that this connection has to do with wakefulness, which is going to become a major part in our talk about anxiety. So today I'm just going to explain glutamate as a cornerstone of the entire thing, and then I will go most likely later on into a more precise aspect. I can't do it today because it would take 3 hours and I would go into such rabbit holes that I think everybody would get lost. So I'm just going to give the cornerstone and then later on do more precise videos on this, right? But so here, what do we have? We have all at center of feeding and wakefulness. Why do I keep talking about feeding? Because we know glutamate as an amino acid is also contained in food. So then that's going to have a big impact later into our understanding of all this, right? So the first one is that hypothalamus, orexin neurons, locus coeruleus, noradrenaline. We also see glutamate that has the action on the amygdala. Why does that interest me so much? Because we know that the amygdala is the seat of the fifth hierarchy. I will have to post the podcast that I did on the subject on this course so that we can relate the two. But the fifth hierarchy, why does it matter so much? Because that is the one hierarchy that decides if things go toward conscious or toward unconscious. So to me, it sounds like it's the seat of awareness in that sense. Because if you go toward unconscious, then those are the things you don't perceive anymore. When it brings toward consciousness, that's the awareness. So remember, like here, I was talking about wakefulness, right? And here, I'm talking about awareness. Are those the same? Is wakefulness and awareness the same? Now, philosophically, you're going to define it differently, I know. But look at it from a feeling perspective. If you don't put words to it, being awake, you know what I mean, and being aware are related, right? It's not exactly the same. But remember that feeling of being awake, ooh, you feel on, right? Like after coffee or whatever. And being aware, there's a relationship there. So maybe that's what that fifth hierarchy does, is it plays with that awareness, wakefulness place so that it can bring things to consciousness or not. That's why we say that amygdala is a center for fear, but that's not the only thing it does. So then we can bring fear into the equation of wakefulness and awareness. Fear surely wakes you up, and it certainly makes you aware. That's its purpose. Right, so if the purpose of fear is to make you aware and awake in order to deal with something, then it has to do with the hierarchy, and it has to do with the noradrenaline and then hypothalamus, orexin neurons and everything. So you could tell that glutamate and fear already are going to be related. But to me, it's not about fear. To me, it's about that wakefulness and that awareness. That's what interests me here, because that's where I'm going to link it to anxiety later, right? So those two are already very, very important. Another aspect, glutamate is necessary for the osteoblast to create osteocalcin. Again, osteocalcin is another part of the video that I just made. I made an entire podcast on it. It is such an important peptide hormone. Whenever you start to pump osteocalcin, we see, for example, the sympathetic being activated. Osteocalcin is a response to acute stress through the glutamate, right? Once you get the osteocalcin, you put the brakes on the parasympathetic side. It goes all the way to the neurons of the brain to stop the acetylcholine being formatted, but it also produces the monoamide neurotransmitters that we need, dopamine, serotonin, and a big one, noradrenaline, which means glutamate through osteocalcin and through the locus coeruleus go toward production of noradrenaline. So obviously glutamate and the sympathetic, you can see the reaction there. Osteocalcin is a big one. You hear me talk about it all the time, so you can see the importance of glutamate right there, right? That's a major one. Another one, yet again. So we talk about the hypothalamus, right? But you also have to see that the glutamate system has a profound effect on the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is a major thing toward behavior and things. Like I would have to make a video on that alone. I think I talked about it. I have a bunch of podcasts where I talked about it. But what's interesting is if you look at the medial prefrontal cortex, forget that. On the left, right, the left medial prefrontal cortex is the seat of the me versus the I. So there's another one as well, so behavior-based. And to talk about behavior, we saw that the glutamate is the number one neurotransmitter that pumps the lactate up during behavioral stress. So whenever you have a fight or things like this, the number one, we see the lactate raising. I talk about it all the time, right? That lactate is going up, and the main reason it's going up is because of glutamate. So lactate raising during behavioral stress, which is normal because lactate is a fuel, and the brain needs that as a main fuel. And guess what? The main reason it's being pumped is because of the glutamate system. So that glutamate system, we're also going to see it having a major impact on astrocytes, and astrocytes are where the lactate is being produced in the brain. So, which is the number one fuel, especially during acute stress. So, you can tell that glutamate is the cornerstone of the entire excitatory system. And the cornerstone of acute stress. It will have responses everywhere, right? So, as a neurotransmitter, it's such an important thing. So that's where I'm going to relate to anxiety in other videos. To me, there's something there that is major. What interests me again about this so much is that, remember, it's an amino acid. It is contained in food as well. So what does that mean? That's going to be the subject of another video, but there's a deep correlation there between all this that I found fascinating. So I just wanted to make this video to explain the importance of glutamate. And then as we go, I will make videos to go deeper wherever I need. But we're going to see that idea that awareness, wakefulness is going to play a central role when it comes to anxiety. Thank you, guys.